but I do like the 2018 Optic Hollow, and I feel that that is a really good gold standard for Josh Allen.
Extending, and able to find Stephon Diggs.
It's gold. It's gold, baby. Gold is hot. Gold is hot.
Anything when there's a winner or a loser. The Turks going for the end zone. It's caught.
And I love the 2004 Topps design right here, man. These 2004 Topps Chrome, that same rookie year as Larry Fitz. I guarantee you someone would reach $130 on this Gabe Davis if he puts up another game in a primetime scenario. We talked about the first Thursday night game against the Rams. Gabe Davis goes off or anything like he did in the AFC Championship game. Are you kidding me? Of course, they're going to reach for this card.
Fires it into wide open. Remarkable. Touchdown, Buffalo.
Right now, his 2018 Optic Hollow is $125 raw compared to Josh Allen's at $500. That's a big difference there, Steve, considering that Lamar Jackson had the season that he did.
Jackson pocket collapsing. He's going to dart. He's going to run. Inside the 5. Jackson in for the touchdown. Oh, kind of quick by Lamar Jackson.
I know that that's your boy, so I had to share.
Heck yeah, man. The Mississippi mustache, dude. I'm going to be looking for him in like the 20th round of this draft.
Julio with time, directing traffic. Now Fires, middle of the field. Caught. First down, Jacksonville.
Brady only has like 135 different rookie cards made for him, whereas Patrick Mahomes has close to 2,000.
He throws this ball from his shoestring around the guy. That's unreal.
Look at Tua now climbing up in the past 7 days. His growth in buy it now, sold volume in graded cards on eBay is up 70%.
Tua on 1st and 10 going deep. And what a catch is made by Waddle.
And with Rookie Ticket Auto, there's fewer cards in this set for Joe Burrow than there.
And now he fires downfield to Jamar Chase. He's got it. Wow. Takes all the way.
It's a first down. We got 1:20 seconds left. Y'all boys gonna play Madden?
It's numbered out of 25. 25 out of 25. It's Gronk doing the Gronk spike signature moves. Look how sick that is.
Got it for the touchdown.
T-minus 1 minute.
More juice for the gyro.
Like the juice.
T-minus 50 seconds.
Now, at the point where we're at, it is a lot easier for new people to get up to speed really quick.
T-minus 40 seconds.
Let's go.
That's a W. That's E1. That's E1. That's a W. How many people want to eat a W tonight?
T-minus 30 seconds.
Tyreek Hill taking over our camera. I think there may be a penalty for excessive celebration, but you know what? I'm going to let that one slide.
T-minus 20 seconds.
That's what I'm talking about. Now y'all some fun.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,
Take a deep
4,
breath.
3,
This is it right
2,
here.
1, 0.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Card Quest. Are you guys excited or what? Training camp officially kicked off around the country this Monday, And whoo, has it been lit. It has been hotter than the summer weather outside. Steve, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. I'm just here. I heard there was a fantasy football card show on tonight. Am I in the right place?
You are in the right place, man. We got a lot to cover. It's all football cards all day. You know it, man. We got all kinds of people out in the chat. Shout out to you guys at the National. I know Andrew Perry's out there. I know Sean is out there at the National. We got Boggy in the house. We got 402. We got all kinds of people in the chat. We got Rodney and David and Jason Taylor, Derek in the house, David Bosquet. We're going to cover so many topics, a lot of the news from the training camp that's developed this week. We're going to look at the market activity. We're going to look at some what we consider maybe just smoke, maybe just hype, and we want to caution you about buying into certain storylines and what we actually see as fire. With something that actually has a valid fire behind it, that is going to be a new trend for the foreseeable future heading into week 1.
Yeah, man, a lot going on right now. And the card market, not just warming up, but seemingly heating up really quickly. I know I've had some sales this week, and it's just kind of picking up on its own. How about yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. Getting a lot of offers. I've got to I'll also get busy listing more cards. Like I should have had my cards listed already. I have made a few sales, but I'd like to make a lot more, but you got to have them listed first, Steve. So if you're, that'd be like first and foremost, if you're out there and you're just tuning in, you want to, get a sense of what's going on in the football card market right now. It's a great time to get those cards listed, be ready to go because the market is absolutely heating up. Wait till I share with you guys here the market activity on what's been going on lately. Our man Jarritos has improved the web app here. As you can see, we now get daily market volume broken down for each day. So you can kind of see how auctioneers are timing their auctions to end them at night. So you can see these spikes here. This red line is auctions. And you can see how they're timing the ending of their auctions at night. So that's why you see the spike there. But it's really interesting to see where the spikes in buy it now volume is at. So this is something that is new that we can now study and kind of get a better understanding of what is happening, what's driving the market at any given moment.
So it's looking like some daytime action for the buy it nows, huh?
Very true. Yeah, I think, and that's kind of historically what I've seen over the past couple years now. This is going into our 3rd season on the Quest, Steve. And so what I have seen is that people do like to get a little buy it now happy in the morning, especially, I think it's twofold, right? You have fewer auctions ending in the morning, and also, you want to capitalize. Maybe you get up early. You got that whole early bird gets the worm thought, and so you want to go ahead and capitalize on something that you read or something that you saw happen the night before, and it's ready to make a move. And what better way to start off the day than to capture a quick buy it now on eBay. So of course, this week's news, the hot story is Julio Jones signing a 1-year contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You can see Julio, well, that's not Julio Jones. I had the clip of Julio Jones pulled up. This is an excellent account to follow, by the way, guys. If you guys want to get like live training camp updates that have been consolidated from all the beat reporters around the NFL through one tweet source, they basically will qualify them and then retweet them on their channel, on their Twitter page. At 32 Beat Writers. Follow this page. Incredible resource. Get all the updates, the clips, and everything. But of course, that's the hottest story right now is that Julio Jones signed a 1-year contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's already been heavily active in training camp, taking a lot of reps from Tom Brady. And so you can see that his week over week buy it now sold volume, Steve, is up 760%. The auctions are lagging behind because people got to get those cards into auction. And honestly, I think that the hype is going to continue to pick up for him as long as he's healthy. What say you, Steve?
Yeah, you talk about a guy who already has arguably a Hall of Fame resume, and you put him on this team, the buying hype is for sure going to be there. And if he can stay healthy throughout the whole year, I mean, maybe cement himself unquestionably as a Hall of Famer, especially if they can bring a championship back.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. He would cement himself. I think he's already going to cement himself statistically, but this gives him the best shot at winning the Hall of Fame or winning the Super Bowl, I should say. And he's just got to stay healthy at this point, and he's definitely going to be used in some capacity. Tom Brady will figure out a way to get him the ball, and he'll have some production, but he does have an injury rap sheet that is incredibly long. I mean, we're talking 20, 30 plus injuries in his career, but he's going into like his 12th year. So, I mean, it's one of those things.
He'll definitely be showing up with some hamstrings on the injury report. It seems to be one of the most common ones. But I think if you're Tom Brady, you know that even if a guy or two goes down, you're pretty stacked at receiver. So I don't think they have much to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, you're stacked. So the other big storyline was that Chris Godwin's way ahead of timeline to return from the ACL. He should be ready by week 1, ready to go, in fact, which is amazing. So very happy about that. Very excited about that. So now we have a very interesting situation, a very stacked depth chart wide receiver. Tom Brady's now got the full arsenal of weapons. And my first take on this is that's a fire. Like that is a fire. Obviously, we're going to see an appreciation in Tom Brady's cards if that is even possible. I'm sure that some insane transactions are going to go down this weekend at the National for Tom Brady's cards, whether it's veteran cards of him in the Bucs uniform or cards of him, rookie cards of him, or cards of the early 2000s. Like any Tom Brady rare card is going to be some insane value. Like he is, the front runner in the hobby. There's no doubt about it. He's the most hyped guy, but I still think that Mike Evans is going to get fed. We know based on how much Tom Brady threw the ball last year, and the fact that Todd Bowles is not really going to have much of a say other than just a 30,000-foot perspective, run the defense, and just help keep everything, kind of be that leadership figure. But it's a Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady show on offense. And so we can absolutely expect Tom Brady to throw the ball at one of the highest rates in the league again this year, especially with all these weapons and everything. The one terrible thing that did happen, Steve, was our center, Ryan Jensen, went down with a knee injury, and he had to be carted off the field. That's not good because that is a Pro Bowl center. So we're going to have to, hopefully we've got some depth there at center because that looked pretty serious. And hopefully it's not a long injury, but that's definitely going to affect you. You may see a couple more botched snaps this year. I don't know what's going to happen there, but Ryan Jensen has been a Pro Bowler, absolute centerpiece for our offensive line. So.
Yeah, was that earlier today or was that yesterday?
Oh, man, there's been so much news coming out yesterday and today. It might have been this morning. It might have been yesterday. I can't really remember exactly which.
So let's see. Looks like carted off. Robert Haney's the next man up. They're talking about maybe signing a free agent.
Yeah, so my hot take, and I don't think it's going to affect us too much just because, we got we still have Tristan Wirfs and Donovan Smith and brought in Shaq Mason. So overall, the O-line is still going to be very strong. We'll just have to figure out what we're going to do for center. But I mean, in terms of wide receivers, like relevant investments, I'm just going to continue buying a dip on Russell Gage. I'm going to hope that there's going to be a dip on his market now with the inherent scarcity of his cards. And the fact he's still going to be used in that Antonio Brown role. And Godwin may need some more breaks coming out just right off the bat. And Julio obviously has that super long injury history, and we don't know if he's going to make it past week 1. I'm still going to buy the dip on Russell Gage. Hopefully there is a dip. I'm going to buy it, Steve. What say you?
Yeah, I think that's a good time to get in on that because you're going to have a lot of the attention away from him. A lot of people buying onto the Julio Jones train. maybe thinking Russell Gage is going to fade into obscurity, which I don't think is going to happen. Tom Brady's a guy that's not shy about throwing the ball, even if they're ahead by 3 touchdowns. So, with that much talent at receiver, I could just see them just throwing. It doesn't matter how far ahead they are. They're just going to keep throwing the ball.
Yeah. So, speaking of a guy in Russell Gage roles, Russell Gage doesn't have very many cards. In fact, look at this 2018 Contenders Rookie Ticket Auto, PSA 10, population 1. So, that card, it's hard for me because as a Bucs fan, I don't really want Falcons cards on my wall. But at the same time, I do think Russell Gage is still going to get 7 to 9 targets a game, similar to what Antonio Brown had in our offense. And that's going to lead to some serious production and opportunity. And with how few rookie cards he does have, I think we could see an appreciation there, Steve.
I got to say, someone in the comment mentioned they can't believe Julio didn't sign with Green Bay. And someone mentioned the temperature difference. I think more than just that, I think that players, as they get towards or past the age apex, a lot of them care about championships over money or anything like that. So I think Tampa presents them a better chance of going to the Super Bowl than Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay's still got a good team, but he doesn't want to be a workhorse. He wants to be a ring holder.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He wants to be a ring holder. So we got a question. We do have some mailbag questions to go through as we cover and hit on some of these news topics from training camp. We're going to hit on all of them, a lot of them, guys. But I want to hit on some of these questions because I think they're very good. They're very relevant to what we're talking about. So I'm going to pull up eBay. And, of course, if you guys have any live eBay snipes you want us to pull up, we've got a couple in our back pocket that we're going to share with you guys in a little bit on the live stream. But first, I want to ask you, Steve, and this is from Filthy Collector over in the Discord server at patreon.com/footballcards. He says, how do you feel about picking up non-autographed optic rookie tickets that are non-autographed? Any resale value?
For sure. Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be just the patch-only version. Even the serial numbered versions do pretty well. And even the non-serial numbered versions of the right guys, they resell pretty well too. So obviously you're talking about like massively scaled down from the rookie ticket auto variety, but there is a market for them. And I have seen them selling for quite a bit. And I have seen the ability to pick them up for, a marginal amount, like for the QBs, like $10 to $15. And, for some of the running backs, like 5 or below. So I think they're cool cards. And if you're into the rookie ticket autos, but maybe you're priced out of buying a Trey Lance rookie ticket auto, it might be a good backup option for you.
Exactly, man. That's what I'm saying, because the other major storyline this week is that the 49ers have officially, all you Trey Lance lovers and fans out there are going nuts right now. Trey Lance raw cards. Obviously, you're not going to see too much of movement in his graded cards just because he's a 2021 rookie with Panini's release schedule. You still have cards coming out, rookie cards coming out for him. So, getting those back from PSA and the grading company is going to take a little bit of time. But the raw card market for Trey Lance is absolutely on fire. I mean, I had to give up counting the amount of pages of sold transactions for 2021 Trey Lance. And so, I mean, the market is going wild for this cat right now. And we know, like it's the whole thing. It's Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance is rushing for it. It doesn't matter the small sample size. I think that in training camp, he's already been lighting Brandon Ayuk up. He took off on a big play. There's a clip of him taking off down the sideline, making a big run, like a 40-something yard run. The guy's got wheels, Steve, and his cards are literally flying off the shelf right now.
It'll be interesting. That means that more than likely Jimmy G is probably on the move. Not for sure, but more than likely. And I think it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I still think that there's a chance Seattle's the destination, but I'm not the Trey Lance hype believer, but I do want to see what he can do as much as everyone else who has investments in him. So that I am excited about.
Yeah, I mean, it's so. Are you under the impression that you are you're selling? Are you selling now, like on this hype? If you're holding Trey Lance, or would you continue to hold into Week 1? They do play the Bears. They play your Chicago Bears in Chicago Week 1. And I mean, we talked about the Bears defense. They bring in Matt Eberflus, the former defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts. And he's like run a really elite defense in Indianapolis for the last couple of years. You guys have some very talented secondary. You guys have a very talented secondary.
We just drafted some great defensive backs.
Yep.
They didn't go in the top first couple rounds, so that they went through like second through fourth. But some of them are already talking about they're going to be starting in the nickel already. So
yeah, and the word on the street is that you're gonna Roquan Smith will be starting Week 1. And who is that? Who is that guy that was one of the sack leaders in the NFL last year? He's still going to be there as well. You were about Robert Quinn. Robert Quinn.
Yeah, they talked about maybe moving him. I'm not saying they still won't. It might be like after Week 5 or something like that. But I mean, they have good defensive pieces, and you can't sleep on the Bears' defense. No one's questioning the fact that the offense is going to be a mystery this year, but I wouldn't sleep on the Bears' defense. And talking about a good defensive team playing against what effectively is a rookie quarterback, I think it'll be interesting. I don't think that it's a guarantee the Niners win that game, and I'm not high on the Bears this year.
Well, it's going to be huge, man. It's almost like a make or break in a Week 1, although I do think Trey Lance is going to be on a little bit longer leash as he finally is getting clarity on his starting position. So it'll be interesting to see what 2021 Prism Trey Lance cards get up. I saw a comment here from David Bosquet, who said that he thinks that Trey Lance Prism cards are going to get up. Trey Lance Prism cards are going to keep rising. They're at 20 to 25 right now. Base Prism 2021. That would make him probably one of the more. Okay, so here we've got an auction that ended today at 1450 in an auction. Okay, so they haven't really got out of control yet, but they are. I mean, hey, they're trading at more than now Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa. They're probably getting up now into that Mac Jones range if I had to take a stab at it.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind is, it took almost 2 years for the Burrows to really climb. So I wouldn't say that they're for sure going to like the $60 or $80 range right away, but you do have a lot of, like I said, hype pre-built into his cards. So they could. I think 40 is more realistic if he starts going wild. You could make the argument that there was a little more cards printed in 2021 than in 2020. So, but yeah, I mean, if all it takes is a couple big games, and I think that his cards will go up. Now, I don't think that his high-end stuff has a lot of room to go, but that Prism is at a price where it does have room to grow for sure.
Yeah, man, and check out these new black Prism silvers. These look really nice. They're now like multicolored. They're like silver in the middle, black on the top and the bottom. You like that more or less than last year's design?
For the base silvers, I actually like that a lot more. I do like that a lot more. No, I haven't seen any of the colored parallels just yet, but I think this has like a nice distinct look to it. The last year's Prism Black Silvers looked just kind of like a variation of the base Prism Silvers, whereas this kind of has its own unique look to it.
Very unique look to it. I like it. It's definitely changed up a bit. It's looking a little bit better. Oh,
that silver disco. That's nice.
Yeah, silver disco 163. Okay, James 88 from the Discord. Also, his question, he wants to know, with a $500 to $1,000 budget, $500 to $1,000, Steve, what one card would you buy now to sell in the next month or two?
In the next month or two? Ooh, man. So that would have to be like a you'd have to be you probably want to take a gamble if you're looking short term. I mean, some of the best cards to buy in that price range will be like guys that you're betting on going to the Super Bowl, right? Like I did with my Burrow investments last year. But I mean, the 1 or 2 month plays are going to be the bigger gambles, like maybe like a Baker Mayfield or something like that. Like a card like that, you could 3 to 5 times your money on if he gets the starting job and they win a couple games. So I don't think you're going to see quite the multiplier on the Trey Lance cards, with the exception of the lower end stuff. To see a 5 times multiplier on like rookie ticket autos is not realistic. But some of the lower end stuff, definitely. So Trey, they come out 3-0. That's a guy that people are already sold on. They're already convinced he's the next guy. So, but if you're looking for a big multiplier and you want to throw some money around and you want to do it, make a quick buck, know that you're taking a big risk doing so. But I'm still going in on T. Higgins and Burrow. I am very sold on that franchise, on that connection. I'm still buying a lot of Bengals, honestly. So if I had the money, that's where my money would be going.
Well, so Joe Burrow had to have appendix removal surgery earlier this week. And coaches went on record that it's nothing serious that we should be concerned about, that, he'll be ready to go week 1, full contact, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm looking at the last week. And of course, I think the national does change some of this because, okay, if you're going to the national, chances are you do have a bigger bankroll and you do have more money to play with. And then that means you're probably looking at more rare cards. So by us just looking at the Joe Burrow prism here doesn't really do it justice to say, hey, Joe Burrow's stock is up or down necessarily. We'd really have to look at an index of cards. We'd have to look at a Joe Burrow rookie ticket auto, a Joe Burrow optic holo, Joe Burrow prism silver, look at a variety of cards and then aggregate those cards together to get an idea of what the overall stock of a player's stock is doing at the moment. Another way you can kind of get an idea of that aggregate is just look at a player's ADP movement. Are they moving down draft boards or up draft boards, and what's driving that? And I don't think we're seeing any movement in Joe Burrow because people aren't really concerned with the appendix removal. So, I mean, like you said, the shootout schedule is tremendous for Joe Burrow. The offensive line is improved like night and day. The offensive line is going to be so much better. And the defense is better. I mean, they improved the defense through the draft big time. And I mean, it's like with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, we already saw an incredible highlight from Jamar Chase earlier today. And between him, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, it's going to be on. There was even some highlights from Hayden Hurst earlier today, some pretty decent highlights. Like he's getting a lot of reps right now with the first team offense, a lot of targets. They're kind of getting him active right out of the gate, probably to build up that chemistry, build up the practice, get to know the playbook because we want to use you.
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but I mean, his cards were basically being given away before he signed with the Bengals, and his stuff's selling now. I mean, I've seen some sales on some optic holos with autos on them for a good buck, numbered out of 50. I saw one go for like 30 and up on that one. I mean, it's probably a card you could have got for like $10 or $12 6 months ago, right? Maybe less. So, I mean, there's guys that could make a big jump in the first few weeks. Going back to that, I did read something about Russell Wilson today, and they're talking about speeding up the pace of play for Denver, which, naturally is only going to pump up the numbers for the offense. So you got to like that if you're going in on Russ. Other guys that can take big leaps financially for your cards, you're talking about guys like, I know you hate him, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, guys that people have low to medium expectations for that could come out and win a couple games or have big games that no one's expecting to. Those are the kind of guys that will see the biggest multipliers. Sam Darnold's a great example of that last year, right? If you got in when he was down, got out when he was up, I mean, that was a big, big play. So those are some names to think about.
Yeah. Did you see the one-handed catch from Saquon Barkley
back in the end zone? Oh, yeah.
Training camp yesterday. So Daniel Jones would be one guy that I would seriously look at, man, because there's a possibility they could come out of the gates here pretty hot. And I mean, it's not necessarily a long-term hold, but it could be a very good gamble this year because of him being in a contract year and them not extending that 5th-year option, and Brian Dable just being a difference maker in the offense and getting Saquon healthy, improve the offensive line, get Evan Neal first round of the draft. So better offensive line, way better coaching. Saquon's healthy, kind of use him more in the receiving game and just with a totally better and new offensive scheme because of Brian Dable. And then, Kenny Galladay's healthy. Wan'Dale Robinson's used. He was already being used out of the backfield in training camp yesterday and today. Kadarius Toney is absolutely electric in the open field. Daniel Jones has that mobility. So there's a possibility with how cheap he currently is that there could be a big increase in his value just to something respectable. Like if we were to look at what Daniel Jones rookie ticket auto is, for example, and I'm almost hate to go back to this only because I bought a few of his cards last year and it didn't work out, and the year before it didn't work out for people, but maybe third time is the charm.
They have good skill position players, right? And I think it says a lot that even the coach and the owners have said that, he never got a fair shake, that they didn't do enough to put talent around him. I believe it. I'm not saying this guy's like the next top 5 QB in the league, but he's probably better than he's shown, right? We've seen that happen with other QBs where they end up in a different franchise and suddenly they're good. Well, they were, better than they were the whole time. They just didn't have the right situation around them. So hopefully, Dable being a difference maker, that like the card you're showing right there, like I bet 2-3 years ago that card was minimum 3 times that, probably 2 times that for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, go look at what this card. Obviously, we can't compare him to Kyler Murray. That's not fair. Maybe Daniel Jones watches more film than Kyler Murray. But because it's not, but Kyler Murray is way more athletic, way more gifted, and a better passer. And his accuracy numbers are way better than Daniel Jones over the past couple of years since coming into the league. So it's, but if we were to look at the price difference, I mean, we're literally talking about like a fraction. I mean, this is borderline. This is what an AJ Brown rookie ticket auto of this scarcity would cost you, so there are skill position players, Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf just signed a massive 3-year extension with the Seahawks. And I was thinking that they weren't going to bring him back because they don't really have a quarterback. But now they're showcasing Drew Lock drilling the practice, like the practice net, like a little, the little thing that holds the ball, drilling the little practice net, and DK Metcalf gets a 3-year extension. But it still may be Geno Smith that starts the season. That's an ongoing quarterback battle there.
Yeah, and then you have dark horses like Jimmy G maybe ending up over there too. But I think whoever the QB is that defense isn't what it was, so they might be playing from behind a lot. He'll get his long plays in.
I've got a hot take for you about the Buffalo Bills. This cat right here, Isaiah McKenzie, has destroyed Jamison Crowder for the slot role. He's got more experience, more chemistry than the rookie they drafted, Khalil Shakir, and he's going to fill in that Cole Beasley role. I think Isaiah McKenzie on a week-to-week basis this year, I think this is actual fire. We talk about what's smoke, what's just smoke, what's hype, and what's an actual fire. I think Isaiah McKenzie is an actual fire. I think he's going to be like the Cole Beasley for the Bills this year, and he's going to be more productive on a week-to-week basis than Gabriel Davis, who's more touchdown dependent.
I got to say, I know we have our resident Gabriel Davis fan in the chat, but every time they mention him, any notes from the coaching staff, including some today, is incredibly positive about how great he's playing. So, I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
They have a pretty good year.
They love Gabriel Davis, and I love Gabriel Davis too, but his price tag has gotten a little out of control. It's not Gabriel Davis that I don't like. It's his price tag. It's his current price tag that I think has gotten a little bit out of control. And I look at a guy like Isaiah Mckenzie. Now, this is something interesting because Gabe Davis was drafted by the Bills. He's a Bills baby. His rookie card is in a Bills uniform. We look at Isaiah Mckenzie here. Now he's in a Denver uniform. It's like, whoa, that's so polarizing. The Broncos and the Bills. So this is one of those situations where I would almost look at something rare 2020, 2021 of Isaiah Mckenzie in the Bills uniform. Isaiah Mckenzie does run a 4.42. He's way faster than Crowder. All right. He's got incredible agility. He went to Georgia. He was fairly dominant there, 34.5% college dominator. Not too shabby. But what's important here, we look at last year, he only had 178 receiving yards and 1 touchdown, but it was more about the game log towards the end of the season. Week 16 to 18, he had 4 red zone targets. 4 red zone targets. He did get 1 touchdown in week 16 against New England when he actually had a decent snap share. He had an 84% snap share. He actually converted that into 125 receiving yards and a touchdown. Every other week, he never had more than a 35% snap share. So he wasn't on the field. So basically, the one time he was on the field last year against the New England freaking Patriots, he balled out with 125 yards, Steve.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And, he didn't do much in the receiving game outside of the New England game, but it's worth noting that the last 2 games of the year, he had 3 rushes, both games. So, with him moving up on the depth chart, they might have some plans for this guy. I think that's an interesting play. Not so much that he'll have a better season than Gabe Davis, but he might have the most room for growth.
Well, the way I look at it is that Josh Allen's going to pass the ball at one of the highest rates in the league, right? They even drafted a pass receiving running back in James Cook. Like, they have no intentions of running the ball there, dude. Little James Cook of 5'10", 199 pounds soaking wet. I mean, yeah, he was a decent runner in his senior year at Georgia. Devin Singletary's a decent runner, but those guys excel at being satellite backs. They excel at being pass catching backs. So they're absolutely going to throw the ball again. It's pretty much like on Josh Allen's shoulders in terms of offensive production. So he's absolutely going to throw the ball. And when you have a guy in the slot playing that slot role, he's just going to get a lot of targets. He's going to get peppered with targets. If we go back and look at Cole Beasley's target share last year and Cole Beasley's amount of targets, I mean, we're gonna see. And the thing was, Cole Beasley is 33 years old. So last year he would have been 32 years old. And look, I mean, he had 700 receiving yards last year, 600 air yards. So he was getting 112 targets. That's 112 vacated targets that can now go to Isaiah Mckenzie. And Isaiah Mckenzie is way faster than Beasley. He's way more agile. It's night and day difference between what Isaiah Mckenzie can now do with the ball in his hands versus Cole Beasley. So that same 693 yards that Cole Beasley got, Isaiah Mckenzie could easily convert into 1,200. All of a sudden, you got a guy that's going from a $10 rookie ticket auto to a $30, $40 one. Those rare cards of him in the Bills uniforms could do something even more interesting.
I think it's worth noting that even if he duplicates the numbers of Beasley from last year, you're talking about like probably a 2-3 times gain on his cards already. Just because he's coming from like a deep reserve role to maybe a wide receiver 3, maybe a wide receiver 2, depending on. Right now they're saying Davis is for sure the 2, but even as the third receiver in a team that throws that often, he puts together a couple of good games, his card values are going to skyrocket. Nobody's buying the guy. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, I can't even find anything in his Bills uniform. He just didn't have enough relevancy last year. They're not going to print him in a Bills card just because he had one good game. But, I mean, this is all writings on the wall.
Ooh, I saw Spectra in there, Andy. I like my Spectras.
You saw an Isaiah Mckenzie Spectra?
Yeah. I think it was like the 3rd or 4th one down.
Let's see.
Not sure if it was a rookie. Oh, there it is. Yeah, the blue one. You just went past.
Oh, yeah, that die cut?
Let me see something. See if there's any on the COM-C.
Very interesting. So the other thing to look at would be like how many total rookie cards does Isaiah Mckenzie have? And then I want to move on here to talking about the Saints.
Here's one thing worth noting. I mean, there's probably not many cards for the guy. COM-C has 0 cards.
Oh, yeah. He's only got
at least for 2018. Let me see.
Yeah, 2018. So he's only got 160 different rookie cards. So we're looking at a similar scarcity to that of Russell Gage. We're looking at a Russell Gage situation.
His rookie year is 2017.
So there you go, man. Well, if his rookie year was 2017, then if I'm on tradingcarddatabase.com, and so like I'm coming in here to Isaiah Mckenzie, and if I look at the filters and look at all years, they only give me an option. Okay. 2017. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I was getting 2017, 2016, or 2018 mixed up. So 160 different rookie cards. That's it. 160, y'all.
There's not many. Let's see. Certified, limited, contenders, contenders optic, XR, Prism, and gold standard. It looks like that's it. And it might sound like a lot, but as you guys know, there's like 40, 50 different sets in play. So to have him printed out of like 6 sets, that's not that much.
Yeah. So that Isaiah Mckenzie in the blue disco Spectra numbered out of 50, that is a solid card right there. Don't get it mixed up with Isaiah Oliver. Yeah, I mean, your options are very limited. You're basically looking at a rookie ticket auto, Panini certified, looks like a Panini limited here. There is a National Treasures jersey number out of 84. And that's going to be about it. I mean, there actually was a Prism, believe it or not.
I'm looking at the red, white, and blue one right now, which is an interesting buy because it's like the Bills' uniform colors.
Boom, there you go. So that's an interesting potential play for you guys based off of training camp news. There was actually a really impressive highlight today from Juju Smith-Schuster that caught a pass from Patrick Mahomes. So the basic reports, Marquez Valdez-Scantling was getting a lot of work with the ones. Patrick Mahomes was targeting him a lot. But it was Juju Smith-Schuster who was making all the big plays. And I think that was kind of what we thought coming into the season was that Juju Smith-Schuster had the best prior production on his resume going back to his rookie year in Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger when he put up a top 3 wide receiver season with 1,500 receiving yards. He was dominant. And then a mixture of misusage and Ben Roethlisberger falling off and then an injury in 2021. And when he should have left, he decided to come back instead of, to try and help Ben get back to another Super Bowl in his final year. And then he gets injured. And so he's very young, right? We talk about Juju Smith-Schuster. He's going into like only his age 25. Like he's the same age as like Velus Jones, who's a rookie on the Bears, Steve. That's like, it's crazy. But, so I think that we're looking at potentially Juju Smith-Schuster definitely being the top receiver on that team next to Travis Kelsey. I think Travis Kelsey is still going to be the most consistent week to week. And he's probably going to just smash his own receiving record because I think that the Chiefs defense has regressed and I think they're going to be forced into more shootout games this year, especially when you look at how difficult the AFC West is. So Juju Smith-Schuster is in line for a big role with potential a lot of production, man.
I'd like to believe that. There is some red flags there. I mean, he's for how young he is, he's regressed consistently for 3 years. I've seen a couple videos presenting the stats and on the guy, and his receiving score was below the league average for the last couple years for a guy that's supposed to be like an elite receiver. So I get it. The situation's different. what you have to ask yourself is football more important to him now than his Twitter account? And if it is, maybe he'll bounce back and become the guy that he was before. But the problem is that he just kind of stopped putting football first and putting social media first. So which Juju will we get this year? I think that's yet to be seen. But hey, if you like to roll the dice a little bit, this is a guy that is definitely a dice roll.
He's gonna ball out, Steve. That he was doing that because of the situation he was in Pittsburgh, man. The writing was on the wall with Ben Roethlisberger, and that's a huge market. It's a huge market after that insane second year that he had. So it was his second year, 2018, when he had the 1,400 receiving yards. I think that's what it is, man. But now he's actually got to work for it because he's on a prove it deal. He doesn't have the big bag. DK Metcalf just got the big bag. Juju doesn't have the big bag. So he's on a prove it deal. And this is his chance to actually turn the tide around and get his name back in good graces in the fantasy circles and, turn his career around this year, man. I think he's going to have a monster year. I think you're seeing the market already kind of react. Of course, he's, connected to Patrick Mahomes. So there's definitely there's a little extra boost there. I think this is an actual fire, but it's not too late. Like, look at this card right here that ended for $16.50. Steve, I know it's a plain white patch and it's numbered out of 299.
And you know what? The header and the framing of the white patch is very color matchy for the Steelers. So, I think that I was never big on Juju even as a Steeler, but I'm sure there's some people in the chat that maybe had him on their fantasy squad over the past couple of years and just thought that this was the year he was going to do it again. Not my cup of tea, but he's got the skills to be that guy again. But I think that there's maybe some better buys out there. But if you look at that green prism right there, that's just a good example. He has a bounce back year, then that's, a $15, $20 card.
Yeah. Shout out to our man Jets Crazy. Saw some nice highlights from Zach Wilson hitting up Elijah Moore. Yeah, Elijah Moore looked great. He's definitely the real deal. I'd say Garrett Wilson looked incredible too. He caught a one-handed pass that was thrown behind him from Zach Wilson. So he's going to need to keep doing more of that potentially. Jets. But yeah, man, Zach Wilson, he's scrambling a lot too, using a lot of his mobility. But I still think that Elijah Moore is probably going to emerge as the number one target there. His rookie cards are so cheap. It's going to be a 1A, 1B type of show with Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson. But man, if Zach Wilson doesn't put it together this year with all those weapons with Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, still have Corey Davis, still Denzel Mims buried on the roster, but I think he's a bust. But Breece Hall is a freaking stud. If he can't put it together this year with all those weapons and at least be competitive, then I don't know what to tell you, man. He's probably a bust.
You know who there's actually a guy that's a bit of a sleeper. His name never gets brought up for the Jets, but Corey Davis, his last season with Tennessee in 14 games, put up 984 yards and 5 touchdowns. So
yeah. So that's what earned him. That's what earned him the good contract in New York.
And if he can stay on the field, he could see a nice bounce back too. There was a peak right before he got hurt last year where his rookie cards, because I actually had a couple of the Optic Hollow rookie ticket autos, Optic Hollow rated rookies. And I moved a couple of those last year. I still have a few that I'm holding on to, but I mean, again, here's another guy that's off the radar that will be the third receiver in that offense.
Yeah, third receiver. I just don't know. One, he struggled with injuries and he struggled with them again last year. And two, I just don't like Elijah Moore is better than him. Like just flat out freaking better at getting open and beating man coverage and creating separation. And look at the transactions. I mean, just based on the youth, right? We talk about them being drafted by the team and being on the team that they have their rookie cards printed. And Elijah Moore is a prime example. second year. Guy was freaking dominant at Ole Miss. And so, I mean, this look at the transactions from today. And that's kind of like the market side. Like you saw Juju. Juju had an incredible catch from Patrick Mahomes, but he's a fourth-year player now on a second team. And he's got to do more to kind of create the same amount of hype that Elijah Moore is doing after 2 days of training camp with Zach Wilson. And you could see like the amount of transactions that have popped off for Elijah Moore today. We're still on July 28th, and we only saw like finally there. I'm on July 27th, but there was only like 4 or 5 transactions today for Juju, whereas I'm seeing probably about 50. Yeah, probably about 50 for Elijah Moore.
I'm not debating the order of skill for these guys. I'm not saying like Corey Davis is better than Elijah Moore or Garrett Wilson, but it's worth noting that their receiver depth isn't quite there. They don't have a legitimate pass catching tight end either. So if Zach Wilson's going to throw for 3,500 yards, 4,000 yards, somebody's going to have to catch those balls. And if he could stay on the field, which, last year was his only year where he played less than 14 games. So just saying, there's definitely room for growth on certain ones. I'm not saying go out and buy like a cracked ice rookie ticket auto, but there's some plays to be made there.
Mm-hmm. It's lit, man. It's starting to heat up. It's just the first week. It's definitely going to take a couple weeks for some serious ADP movement. We've got the Hall of Fame game this time next Thursday. We've got preseason games. I believe preseason games are starting next week as well, right, Steve? This is coming up so quick. I think it's starting next week. Yep, Thursday, August 4th. Boom, Jags, Raiders. It'll be, we're all going to be watching to see how the first team snap share is divvied up. We're going to be really focused on the first team offenses. So a team like the Jags, they're going to have most of their first team offense out there because you have new coaching, a lot of very young players and first-time players on the team. Whereas the Raiders, you may not see Derek Carr out there for more than a couple series. I don't know. It'd be interesting, but they have more veteran players. They already have more chemistry. But they do bring in a new head coach and Josh McDaniels. So I don't know. Josh McDaniels may want to get more practice in a real game scenario with the first team offense. It hopefully, you like at least to get the first team offense out there for a quarter, but the more they're out there, the more chances there is for injury. the more veteran teams, the more veteran players, the more veteran coaches, they don't need all that practice, I
think it's worth noting too that everyone's kind of waiting for week 1 to see their card values go up, but I wouldn't put it past a surprising preseason performance. If a guy goes off on an 80-yard touchdown, you're going to hear about it, right? We're in the information age. You're going to see clips of it on Twitter, on whatever platform you follow your sports news on, and that is absolutely going to draw people to look at rookie cards for that player.
Mm-hmm. Here's the Drew Lock. Here's Drew Lock throwing bullets into the net, man. Look at Drew Lock drilling the net.
All right. Yeah, if he can start differentiating receiver from defensive back, he'll be at the maybe he could be a guy.
58.2 million guaranteed for DK, 3 year, $72 million extension, $30 million signing bonus, the highest ever for a wide receiver. Metcalf won't be a free agent again until 27. Let's see what that's doing for his cards because of the, obviously, unless people are really buying into some Drew Lock, Geno Smith hype, which Geno didn't look terrible in the small sample size we saw him last year, but that offensive line is bad, and so is that defense. And Pete Carroll's just one of the worst head coaches, run-heavy head coaches. He makes some knucklehead decisions out there, man. I don't know, Steve. Are you buying into the – he's such a good player that, his athletic ability on its own could generate a couple touchdowns a game. So that's kind of where I'm like, maybe his production is just so good. He's so freaking athletic that's going to override the fact that he's in a bad situation.
One thing I think that, they're signing these, a guy like him, that young, that skilled, like, I don't think they're doing it for the right now. One of the things that I got right was Brady signing with Tampa, right? And he went there because they had those great receiving core and they had a good O-line, right? So Seattle doesn't have a good O-line, but they have great receivers. So their next thing is to try to bring in a veteran quarterback or maybe draft one in the next couple of years. So if they have receivers in play, especially one that's skilled, they might be able to draw talent in, because right now they don't really have that power. If he were to go, who would want to go play there, right? We live in the day and age where you have the LeBrons and all the other NBA players. They want to play on the built teams. They don't want to build franchises anymore. So I think you're kind of starting to see that spill over into football.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, it makes sense, man. It makes sense. Look at what the Rams did last year.
Oh yeah, and you'll have guys taking less money to go play on championship teams now. So, like I said about the Julio thing, he could have gotten probably a massive contract from a receiver needy team, but I think some of these guys just want to win championships, and you can't blame them. Look at how hard we judge players as far as their Hall of Fame potential if they don't win Super Bowl.
We do. I mean, the playoff race is a massive contributor to the appreciation of any given player's rookie cards. The playoff hype cycle is arguably as big as the hype cycle that we're heading into right now, and the one in the draft. Here,
I got one for you, Andy. I got one for you. So I'm looking at the Week 1 preseason schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Which quarterback throws for more yards in your opinion? Jared Goff for the Lions or Marcus Mariota of the Falcons? That they're playing each other on Friday.
Jared Goff.
I could see him connecting maybe on a long touchdown, maybe Chark or something like that. He was the first guy that he had time to build rapport with in the offseason, so maybe him.
Yeah, you know what? They may not need to keep Jared Goff out on the field though as much. He's got more experience with the team now after being there for an entire year, and he's going into his sixth year. So, he's a veteran at this point, and they got a season under their belt with a lot of these guys. Maybe Chark, he's a rookie to the team, obviously, but he's not like a rookie in the NFL. He's going into his fourth year. So Mariota, though, is on a new team, and they have a lot of young talents. They just brought over Brian Edwards. They just drafted Drake London. Kyle Pitts is only a second year. They drafted Desmond Ridder, so definitely going to want to get him out there quite a bit. But Mariota being almost a disposable asset based on the amount of money they paid him, it's basically backup quarterback money. So I think, he could get close to an entire first half versus Goff only getting a quarter, which inherently would enable Mariota to throw for more yards. So I changed my answer.
I like it. Yeah, I think. I could see them both playing quarter and a half. That would probably be my guess on that one. But there's some interesting matchups, not necessarily any barn burners, but like Giants play Patriots. Like that's got some historical value there. Not really that exciting for preseason. Jimmy to the Falcons, maybe. Preseason is 3 weeks. Yep. I do like that. I do like that they shortened the preseason a bit.
All right, guys. Hey, if you're new to the quest, be sure to hit that subscribe button, that notification bell, so you don't miss any of the goodness. Yeah, and if I didn't say hit that like button already, or ask you to hit that like button, that would be most excellent, most excellent. I got a question. Shout out to Third and Long here for you, Steve. Do you think that this weekend will be the height of sniping season with the National going on? Like, do you think that this is pretty much the last weekend of being able to get some major snipes before we get into the preseason? I mean, it kind of makes sense that we're kind of culminating. I'm surprised, like, for example, I didn't see more Juju Smith-Schuster sales today than we did. I'm surprised that, you know, those base Prism Trey Lance cards, you know, didn't go up higher, which I think that they're going to continue to appreciate. But maybe it is the fact that the National is the National, and that is kicked off today. Like I said, shout out to all you guys at the National. So do you think this is going to be the height of the sniping season with the National going on this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it might be the last of the best opportunities. There's always some good opportunities, but you know, a lot of the big guns, big accounts, big eBay accounts will be, you know, doing trade nights at the National or doing whatnot and auctions with each other and doing content for their YouTube channels and stuff like that. So I think it's a good opportunity. You'll definitely have fewer competitors. You'll at least have that going for you. Not to say that the pricing will go down. I mean, honestly, as much as people have been talking about recession and the card market and stuff like that, I've only seen football card prices go up. I don't know about you, but I do think there's still some chances of good buys. So I think if you were trying to get in while there's less competition, do it now, not just because of the National, but once football starts and once clips start coming out every week on players, you know, you're going to bring a lot of people back that have been, you know, tucked away with the Christmas tree for football season that are ready to start buying again.
Very true. So do you think that the card prices will dip at all after the National due to everyone's kind of rush then to get like back and list their cards before the season? So then, like, so you basically have an influx of supply, which would cause, you know, prices to kind of go down, even if demand stays the same or goes up a little bit. If supply is still higher than that, then the prices would still kind of come down a little bit to equal out with that demand.
One thing I think is interesting, and we've talked about this on the channel before, is, you know, there's a lot of debate on, you know, what's the hottest in the market. And a lot of people say it's baseball. A lot of people say it's basketball. But we've talked about it becoming football. And I think there's a chance it either is or is about to be becoming football, because I don't know about where you live, Andy, or where anyone else in the chat lives, but there's never football on the shelves here, right, in Illinois. And there's always baseball and there's always basketball, right? So I would think that as probably football continues to get more popular, I think the prices will just continue to go up. So you'll proactively have more and more eyes on the product. So big cards, you might want to get into them sooner than later if you're planning on it at some point, because the more people that get in the hobby, cards that are serial numbered specifically will be that much more scarce as you have more buyers and the same amount of cards available.
Yeah, and I talk about the fact that you don't know how many cards are getting stashed in people's collections, or just people that aren't good at listing cards. Like, that's something that I struggle with because I'm so focused on content creation. There's only so much time in the day, Steve. So, you know, that is always an interesting element, is that you just don't know how many cards are sitting out there. So I talk about this, like, and this is kind of what we see. Like, we might see prices spike on a Sunday from a big performance, only for them to kind of flatline as the supply influxes throughout the following week, because the people out there react. They see that big performance and they're like, oh, I need to list my cards. This guy is playing good. And then they get up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when they get time, and they actually list those cards, start the auction, or, you know, list in a buy it now format. And there go. You see now it's like someone's like, well, I've held this in my collection for 2 years, and 2 years ago I got it for $20, so I don't mind selling it for $40 or $50 now. Whereas, you know, someone on Sunday just paid $60 or $70 for that same card. I saw that a lot last year.
No, that's a big one. You don't want to be listing cards reactively. You want to be listing cards proactively. And if it's a card you're really high on, again, no one's asking you to give it away. I mean, if you think the card has growth potential and someone else might recognize that, you can list the card for above what comps are going for. And if someone makes you an offer you like, you can take it. But you don't want to be, selling yourself short if the guy has a blow up game and you end up selling yours for cheaper than everyone else did. So, there's ways to do it and be fair and still, get more out of your investment than if you wait and then the price and the interest goes down over the next few days.
Yeah, it's a good point. So, what's your thoughts on Kellen Mond, the backup quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, Steve? And yeah, we'll just start there because Honey Nut wants to know what your thoughts are on Kellen Mond and Ian Book, which I don't know that Ian Book is ever going to get a start again, but I guess it's possible. We could talk, but I do want to talk about the Saints. And we didn't get to touch on them earlier because Michael Thomas is back, baby. He's healthy on the field, dude. The guy is cutting. He is running routes. He tweeted out, I guess all y'all's fantasy doctor or all y'all's football doctor was wrong or something like that. And then you see the highlights of him breaking out on the field with Jameis, man. Looks good. He looks good out there. But Kellen Mond, Kellen
Mond question real quick. I would say those guys are interesting buys because they're already really inexpensive. With Book, he's a third string right now. So there's a little bit less appeal than there is with Mond, who I'm not saying that he's Pat Mahomes by any means, but there was people early on that were saying that he had similar traits, characteristics. So he's a guy that at least has that potential. We know the guys in the chat love running quarterbacks. So maybe he'll be the maybe he'll be the next guy, like the new Trey that everyone wants to buy. No, I'm just kidding. But Cousins isn't going anywhere for a while, and Mond, he could end up going somewhere as some of these older QBs fade out, like Aaron Rodgers or somewhere else. It's going to be a while, right? But now is when the prices will be the lowest.
Yeah, as long as Kirk Cousins doesn't get hurt, then there's going to be no chance for Mond to get a start at least anytime in the near future. And maybe they trade him. Maybe because the thing is he does have a pretty interesting athletic profile, right? He runs a 4.62, so that's 84th percentile speed for being a 6'3", 211-pound quarterback. He went to Texas A&M. His college yards per attempt were not great, but his breakout age was 19 years old. So that is pretty solid. College QBR 74.9 is about average, but he was a third-round draft pick from Texas A&M, where he entered as a backup, but he also completed all four seasons of his college career with a passer rating over 100, if I'm reading this correctly.
Well, as we've seen with a lot of other quarterbacks, especially ones as young as him, I mean, if something happens to Cousins, he gets a couple starts, I mean, you're going to automatically see his prices skyrocket, especially if he has a good game or two. But as far as him seeing a path to a starting gig, you're talking probably 2 or 3 years.
So Kellen Mond delivered efficient college stats, most notable being that he is one of 3 SEC quarterbacks, including Dak Prescott and Tim Tebow, to record over 9,000 passing yards and 1,500 rushing yards in his college career. He also completed all 4 seasons of his college career with a passer rating over 100. That's different than the QB rating. At his pro day, like we talked about, solid 40-yard dash. So that's interesting, man. That's interesting. He's only had 3 actual live passes in an NFL game. So, I mean, even less than Trey Lance. And it's going to be really hard to make any type of assessment about if he could be good in the NFL, but he's one of those guys that I'd say he's probably worth a few dart throws, just based on the college profile, the athletic profile, the speed, the arm strength, the passer rating in college, what he did comparable to Dak Prescott and Tim Tebow. That's impressive. I think I also looked up something about his win record. He was also one of the most winningest quarterbacks in college as well. So that is impressive. I think that alone warrants some flyers be thrown on him. And now's the time to do it. If you got some disposable cash and you want to stash a couple nice QB rookie ticket autos, hey.
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where, like you said, you're investing in the guy to maybe flip if he gets a couple starts this year. If you're looking more long term, you would need Cousins to get traded effectively, which I don't see happening, or Mond to get traded, which honestly could very well happen. As some of the other QBs in the league start aging, there's going to be people that are going to have to take their place. Will it be him? Who knows? But he has the college resume that doesn't always translate into NFL success. But hey, crazier things have happened for sure. Matt Castle won a bunch of games for the Patriots. So,
what's important to note that A was an SEC school, so that's promising, right? And B, he does have a rushing floor, so he's got 84th percentile speed. So even like Trey Lance, if he's got a little bit longer leash, so like Lamar Jackson, like Jalen Hurts, these guys that have the ability to rush, but there are some questions around their passing game. He's got some time to develop that with the ability to actually just rush the ball as a floor. But Kirk Cousins is locked in through 2025. So, I mean, and Kirk Cousins has been pretty Kirk Cousins is going to ball out this year. Kirk Cousins has been really solid the last few years. He's just been notorious for, not making a playoff run and not winning in primetime games like Monday night, Thursday night football. But the guy has passed for over 4,000 yards the past 2 years with over 66% completion percentage. So, I mean, he's been fantastic. Like,
I know, Andy, you had to have seen the rumor. Now, clearly just a fringe rumor, but about maybe Cousins going to Tampa next year if Brady retires.
I'd be totally down with that. I mean, it's gonna, I think it's more time for Kyle Trask. So Kyle Trask is in a similar situation to Kellen Mond here. They had some very interesting college statistics that show that they have potential. There's a potential there for a quarterback breakout in the NFL, but you're never going to get a start over a proven veteran. Obviously not ever the GOAT, but Kirk Cousins is a prolific quarterback in his own right, man. Even going back,
imagine him going there if all those receivers are still there too.
Oh, dude, he's going to throw for 5,000 yards. And imagine if Byron Leftwich was still the offensive coordinator. I mean, he's going to throw for 5,000 yards. It's going to be insane. Kirk Cousins also has a little bit of sneaky mobility. Well, that's just a touch more than Brady. But, I mean, Kirk Cousins, his red zone completion percentage was number 8 best in the league last year. Clean pocket completion, number 6 best in the league. Deep ball completion, 7th best in the league. Plus, he put up 4,221 yards. And now they get a pass-happy, faster pace of play head coach this year, Kevin O'Connell from the Los Angeles Rams. So we're looking at a big breakout season here from Kirk Cousins. Probably people are going to get more hyped about Justin Jefferson and maybe Dalvin Cook if he stays healthy. If not, Alexander Madison is definitely out there that's going to feast. But I mean, Kirk Cousins is going to ball this year, and probably Justin Jefferson's going to smash some record. I mean, I would not be surprised if we look up Justin Jefferson, number 1 wide receiver, and he just like goes over 2,000 yards or something crazy. Because the Vikings also, they always struggle defensively and like get the secondary. So I feel like they're going to be in a lot of shootout games, and Kirk Cousins is just going to be letting it rip, dude. And Justin Jefferson's so good that he's going to rack up an insane amount of yards and touchdowns.
People think that, they're already talking about using him in the Cooper Kupp role. this year. Could you imagine him and Cooper Cup's role with his athletic ability? I mean, Cooper Cup numbers plus, perhaps, right? So I think it's safe to say his cards are very expensive already. But can you imagine the heights they could go to, if you were to duplicate Cup type numbers?
And believe it or not, Justin Jefferson left approximately 360 yards out on the table last year. He actually had 167 targets, only 108 receptions. So that was actually 2,000 air yards, and he only had 1,600 receiving yards. And now we're going to speed it up. We're going to dial it up. We're going to feed him the ball even more. We're going to play even faster. And we're going to try and win some more games. We're going to try and win some more of those Monday night, Thursday night games. We're not going to be punting the ball as much. We're not going to be kicking the ball as much. We're going to adopt more of a Brandon Staley, Los Angeles Chargers approach, or more directly a Sean McVay approach from the Rams, which I don't know. Sean McVay made some mistakes in the playoffs last year, but he got lucky, got the job done. He had some lucky breaks from the teams that he played, Bucks, but it is what it is. But 2022, I mean, when you look at all the changes and everything on paper, I mean, and look at the previous metrics and previous production from all these key players that are coming together on the Vikings, they're teed up to put up some very impressive offensive production this year.
The few guys that don't have a lot baked into their prices already, Cousins, who gets no hobby love, and KJ Osborne. Thielen cards are already pretty expensive, and Justin Jefferson cards are pretty expensive already. And I think it goes without saying that Dalvin Cook's cards have been up and down, but his cards will probably see a spike back up this year too.
Dalvin Cook? Yeah, he's looking very spry, man, in training camp so far. So the hype's going to be there. I mean, when you look at Kevin O'Connell's screen pass numbers, a lot of screen plays, whether it was running backs, wide receivers. So a lot of shallow type of quick get the ball out, especially depending on the defense that they're playing. We could see a lot of that being deployed, and Dalvin Cook's proven to be a very good receiving back. I mean, generally speaking, I've been out on Dalvin Cook. I'd rather sell Dalvin Cook like rookie ticket autos for about 100 and then go and buy a couple Alexander Madisons, just kind of reaching down into that well, just because he's so much younger and he's got a very similar athletic profile. Like, he's proven to be just as efficient and as Cook, given the same opportunities. So that's where I've kind of pivoted, but I still think that if Cook is healthy, right? I mean, he's going to smash, and he could definitely be the guy as long as he's healthy.
The thing about Cook is that I kind of think of him as like a bit of a freak, like Adrian Peterson, where I think that he can play past the age apex at a high level. So I'm not buying a lot of Cook, but I'm buying the right Cooks. And, they could be nice, juicy flips this year, because not a lot of people are putting them in that like RB1 category where they should be. And regarding the Irv Smith question, I know Derek is a huge Irv Smith fan. I have him in most of my best ball leagues. I think he's going to have a great year. The one thing that actually really surprised me is there's actually a lot of people buying in him. There's a lot of people buying the Irv Smith rookies for the last 2 months when I've been trying to get them cheap. There's already a lot of people ahead of me on that one. So just be aware that there's other people buying Irv Smith cards right now.
That is very interesting. I'm a big fan of Irv Smith. There's a recent picture of him, man. He got a butterfly tattoo on his neck. He said this is a fresh start. He missed all last season with injury. And Tyler Conklin did pretty well in his place, but they've since got rid of Tyler Conklin. He's gone to the Jets. It's going to be the Irv Smith show. It's tight end 1 there this year. And so he also got a Hulk arm on his leg or something like that. I think it was his leg or his arm, because he said he's going to smash this year. I'm totally buying the Irv Smith hype, especially at his current price point. I mean, the guy was first and foremost, he's from Alabama, so he's got a lot of college pedigree, drafted in second round, early in the second round, so he's got that draft capital. 86 percentile speed for a tight end at 6'2", 242. He's got a very interesting receiving profile. His college yards per reception, 88th percentile. And, I mean, I would love to see him put together a full season in this new system. He's going to be out there on the field a lot. I think he's one of those tight ends that's going to have like an 80, 85% snap share. There's no depth chart competition for him. And there's nobody. There's nobody behind him. Who's going to compete with him for targets? Johnny Munt, Ben Ellison, Luke Stocker, Nick Muse, nobody that's got any type of prior tight end production or decent athleticism or draft pedigree on their profile to compete with Irv Smith for targets. So if he's healthy, I mean, it's going to be good.
And you look at how targeted Tyler Higbee was last year, but the difference is that Tyler Higbee's not very athletic. Irv Smith is very athletic, and he's got more receiver type speed. So I think you could see some good things out of him this year. I think that whole offense is going to surprise a lot of people.
Now the question is, can they win? Can they win? Because that's the big question in my mind is, can they win? So I pulled up the 2022 Vikings because I want to see who they play preseason. All right, preseason, we get them the Raiders August 14th. First game, August 14th against the Raiders. But see, their first week 1 NFL game is against the Packers. Now, they do get them at home, so maybe a slight advantage there. But Packers at home, Packers want to play slow. They're going to run the ball more this year. Aaron Rodgers always played slow, but he doesn't have Devontae Adams anymore. I don't know, man. I mean, I could totally see the Vikings beating them, but they're going to have to put up they're going to have to stop Rodgers first and foremost. And they're going to have to be able to stop that run game between Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. I don't see them having any problems to put up points against the Packers, although, people talk about Jair Alexander, one of the best corners in the league for the Packers. The Packers do have a top 10 defense. Their defense is good. All of the different sectors of their defense is solid, so it's going to put up some competition for Justin Jefferson, but I still don't think that even Jair Alexander is going to be able to really slow him down a whole lot.
Yeah, it's like they say, you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him, and even that might be a stretch. Guys like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, guys like that are too good at making big plays that they're gonna have good games against just about anybody.
Yeah, I don't see him being covered by Jair Alexander last year, but in Week 16 when he was covered by Jalen Ramsey, right? Justin Jefferson still 93% snap share, which that's going to be pretty standard for him any given week. 38 routes, 12 targets, 8 receptions, 116 receiving yards. So, yeah, I mean, Jalen Ramsey's another elite corner in the league. Josh Norman, San Francisco. That was an interesting game script of game. That's a totally different animal in San Francisco to play, but he held him to 83 receiving yards. So that was a little bit better of a performance. But I'm not seeing. I don't think that they're going to be able to really slow him down a whole lot. But it's certainly going to be that week 1 is going to be massive, right? I mean, do you think we could see an appreciation in Kirk Cousins cards from 1 week win? I mean, it's kind of hard for me to think that. Like, I almost feel like Cousins at this point needs a playoff run to really see a noticeable movement in his cards. Maybe though, if they string a few games together, like we talked about some of these veterans, if they can start out 3-0, now all of a sudden that's a different story, because 3-0 puts you in front runner for MVP consideration, puts you in the top of the standings. You're now projected as in the top of the power rankings. coming out of the gates. And so that's a totally different story. Winning 1 week in week 1 against the Packers like the Saints did last year when Jameis threw for 5 touchdowns is different than them going 3-0.
I think that he won't see a tremendous boost, but not just beating Green Bay, but if they were to whoop Green Bay, I think you'd see a huge jump right away. That might be a bit of a stretch. Green Bay's defense is actually pretty good, but here's the thing: is we always talk about expectations, and outside of people that are really paying attention, I don't think a lot of people are expecting a lot out of Cousins this year. So the more people that are sleeping on him, the better chances of his cards skyrocketing. While you're looking at that, Andy, I want to pick a couple questions in the chat here. Somebody was asking about Dawson Knox and why he's not getting a lot of love. I think a lot of people are scared of the regression because he was so touchdown dependent last year.
Yeah, I think Dawson Knox is another very interesting target because he's not expensive at all. You get a piece of that Buffalo Bills extremely pass-happy, high-octane offense. Dawson Knox, another solid athletic profile across the board, 3rd-round draft capital from Ole Miss. He's only 25 years old, 6'4", 254. I mean, the guy's another one of those deep ball tight end type threats. Maybe people are thinking O.J. Howard could sap some targets, but O.J. Howard's a good run blocker. I think this has really added him for depth. But, I mean, if Dawson Knox would have – you're right. I mean, touchdown regression is definitely on board for him because last year he finished as a tight end 9 with 9 touchdowns, but the year before he only finished with 3. So, maybe he comes back down to a mean of 6, but at the same time, could the Bills find themselves in even more passing situations this year? Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys where the tight end market is clearly behind the wide receiver market. You really have got to be in the elite status like a Travis Kelsey or a Rob Gronkowski to really move the needle hard for a tight end. So the tight end market is definitely interesting. It's a little bit more finicky. It's a little bit more touchy than the wide receiver market. Wouldn't you say, Steve?
Yeah, because in the tight end market, you have those guys that make the 1 year spike with the big touchdown totals, and then a lot of them tend to drop off the following year and come back to earth. That's why receiving yards targets are a lot better of a barometer for consistent success. That's why Kyle Pitts is being so heavily bought into, not just because he's younger, but because of the amount of yards he's putting up. You're going to eventually see the touchdowns even out. But, someone said Cook as well, too. Jared Cook was a guy people thought was going to be outstanding, but he had like 1 decent year and never showed his face ever again.
Yeah, I think of Robert Tonyan on the
year
Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm.
He had 11 touchdowns in 2020, and his ADP shot through the roof. I remember last year, like people were drafting Robert Tonyan with some pretty respectable capital, and even had some decent demand for his rookie cards, only to finish with 2 touchdowns last year. And his receiving yards chopped in over half. So what about Gary Barnage? Do you remember Gary Barnage? Dude, Gary Barnage from the Cleveland Browns had a league-winning year. I won my league that year, destroyed it. That was 2015. Gary Barnage had 9 touchdowns after having 0 in 2014. In fact, he had 1,000 receiving yards in 2015 after having only 156 in 2014. But what happened in 2016? Played the same amount of games, but his targets got chopped in almost half. His receiving yards got chopped in almost half, and he went from 9 touchdowns to 2 touchdowns. And so you got stung. You got bit if you went back to that well 2 years in a row. There's very few tight ends like Kelsey, like Andrews, like Rob Gronkowski that can have this year in, year out insane production. Now, I do think that it's the league is evolving, right? The league is evolving. They're throwing the ball more. If you look at this past offseason, 17 wide receivers secured massive bags of money. Like, I remember the next gen stat. I have to look it up. It was on my phone earlier because it was something. The numbers, like the amount of money.
Well, people are figuring it out that these guys play longer and they have a dramatic effect on the quarterback success and vice versa.
There it is. 17 wide receivers have signed a new $30 million plus total value contract this offseason. The deals combined for $1.16 billion in total value, $759 million guaranteed, $356 million paid in 2022. 4 years ago, Odell Beckham Jr.'s $18 million average annual salary was among the top wide receivers. $18 million now ranks 16th, with $30 million the new high. Thanks to DK Metcalf today.
It's crazy. And
right?
it's all sports too. I mean, the amount these guys are getting paid it continues to go up, but I think you're seeing the shift away from running backs getting paid. It's been happening for several years now, and receivers are starting to see, a bulk of the money. And I mean, it makes sense. They have a little bit more longevity in the league. They have a higher, age apex. They're gonna be around for a lot longer, and they just make a bigger impact. You can get guys, if you look at the Shanahan offense, they could pull in just about anybody, make a 1,000-yard rusher out of them. So I think it's interesting. And I think that speaking of wide receivers, since we're on that topic, somebody asked about Allen Lazard, Andy. I think Allen Lazard is not a wide receiver one. And someone asked for a estimate on his yardage. I forgot who that was in the chat. Bush Leaguers, I think. He
estimate on his yard, what, for this upcoming year?
For the year, I'm going to say about 850. I don't think it's going to be very high.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a true wide receiver one. That's the thing. He's not. He may function as one partially this year. Honestly, I mean, dude, I don't know. Sammy Watkins is already injured. I don't know if you saw this, Steve. It's not ideal. Obviously, it's nothing major. It's minor, but Sammy Watkins is already injured, dude.
I did facepalm slightly just because of the injury history, but look, hopefully it's not something that lingers and becomes a season-long thing or whatever. But I do realize a lot of targets did get vacated, but I just see them spreading the ball around a lot. I don't think they have a de facto wide receiver one, at least not yet. I think that they're going to rely a lot on the running backs and just kind of spread the ball out evenly. Lazard might see a lot of red zone work, but I don't see him being a high yardage, high target guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on with that 800-yard prediction. I mean, just because, so he may be the target leader, right? He may get the most amount of targets on that offense, but just because he's the target leader does not mean that he's necessarily going to have a breakout season, right? I mean, look at Marquez Callaway on the Saints, your guy. He led the Saints in targets last year with 17.9%. Didn't do anything special with that at all outside of his peak was in preseason, and then he went down from there. The Jaguars' leading target leader was Marvin Jones last year. He never broke out. He never did anything. So just because there's a couple mediocre options. Now, I know obviously those guys had totally different quarterback and coaching scenarios, and we're talking about, the great Aaron Rodgers here, but Lazard has been with Rodgers for a couple of years, and it's, obviously with Devontae Adams, but man, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. I think I'd rather take a flyer on Christian Watson and hope that he turns into something special, or just invest in Aaron Jones. Man, Aaron Jones is a great receiver. If you look at the splits when Devontae Adams was out, Aaron Jones was an absolute monster, and they used him a lot in the receiving game. So, I mean, Aaron Jones could easily be the receiving yardage, like one of the receiving yardage leaders in that, and just put A.J. Dillon in the backfield, give him the bulk of the carries, put Aaron Jones as a receiver, turn him into your new Devontae Adams.
I think both Green Bay running backs are going to see a massive uptick in receptions. I mean, there's a lot of vacated targets, and they just don't have a legit wide receiver one. You know, they have a guy that they may label that, but they don't have a guy that has that same skill as most wide receiver ones in the league. Like Sammy Watkins, maybe at one point in his career, and you know what, maybe he still has it in him, but can he stay on the field is the question. You know, he's the kind of guy that if he can play 12, 13 games, can get 1,000 yards. So, but can he play 12 or 13 games?
Yeah, that's a great question. All right, man. I know we've been going for quite a while, hour and a half. I had a couple questions that I started earlier. You guys in the chat, shout out to all you guys. You guys have been fantastic. The chat has been lit. I think I even saw Sports Card Anonymous pop in earlier. Shout out to Dakota over there. Let's see. This question was from Bosquan Gaming, and it was about Chase Edmonds. And yeah, he's another guy, Steve, that I looked into because he's going to be the RB1 for Miami with a new offense, Mike McDaniels, and bringing Tyreek Hill over. I think that's definitely going to open up some running lanes. And, you know, he's going to be the RB1 on what could be a much improved offense. So Chase Edmonds cards are very cheap. He just doesn't have a super flashy athleticism or anything like that, and he is now going into his 4th year, so it's like I think that he's worth a couple flyers. Like he could create some hype just being on a new team and put up some decent numbers, but I'm not like looking to invest super. I think you got the right idea. Super cheap rookie ticket autos. Like I'm not looking to really double down and put any big money on him.
I think that of the guys they have, he'll probably be the lead rusher. But I think it's kind of like we talked about with the Green Bay receiving core. I mean, being the lead rusher or the lead receiver in that group isn't necessarily like a bold statement. He'll just be the guy getting most of the work and maybe a couple receptions here and there. No one else on the team is that good at running back, but they have a bunch of guys they're going to use. They seem to like Myles Gaskin, even if he's like the odd man out hypothetically right now. But I think that he's actually still kind of a sneaky play if you can get him cheap enough. He's much cheaper than Edmonds is. But Edmonds is at least the favorite to break out if he gets the opportunities.
Interesting. Greeny Green, I like the dude from Ohio State. Can't remember his name or team he went to. I have no clue who we're talking. Seems to like Bellinger a lot. He's already first on depth chart. Who are you talking about, Greeny Green?
Bellinger? Not sure who Bellinger is. Talking about the Jets tight end they drafted?
The Giants tight end, Daniel Bellinger. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm liking this athletic profile for sure, man.
Oh yeah.
I like to see the athleticism, the size. San Diego State, small college. Actually, San Diego State, man, it's where Derek Carr, Devontae Adams went. Age, so Spark X is there. Speed, power, agility, reaction, quickness, 4th round draft capital. Let's look at those college statistics. Yeah. All right. COVID shortened season, 203. Target share 11.5%. That's solid for a tight end. Yeah, that's a very interesting prospect there. Very interesting prospect, Greeny Green. I mean,
I'd be curious to see. I mean, the Foster Moreau comparison is pretty interesting too.
The question is though, like you're not going to find anything for him right now. It's going to be some Sage or maybe you'll find some. Maybe some Chronicles draft picks. I don't even know. That looks like some kind of burnt card, high qual undead rookie art.
Yeah, that's like a fan art card or something.
Fan art card. Yeah, there's literally. I mean, I'm not even seeing there's not even.
He may not even be printed yet, honestly.
No, he's not. He's not printed yet. this is what we're talking about with the tight end market. Even the 4th round running backs and wide receivers got printed in 2022 draft picks, or Sage or Bowman U or something here. You got to buy a big photograph. You're just gonna have to wait till Donruss comes out and the pro product comes out. And why not? I mean, with the team that he's on, like, we're not. I mean, at least I'm not, Steve. I'm not investing in any Giants or Jets players to make the playoffs. You know, that's not the kind of investment I'm making in those guys. So this guy would be an easy buy low candidate when it comes to like a November, December timeframe.
Yeah, if there's some product out for him, I mean, he's the kind of guy that, you know, 4th round tight end, won't have a lot of cards printed. There won't be a lot of competition stirring for him as a year 1 buy. So that could work to your advantage if you're looking to get in on him. Because as we saw, like, not a lot of these tight ends are breaking out year 1. It's usually year 2 through 4.
I have no clue what's going on in the chat. No, I really don't, Derek. I can't keep up. You guys, I can't keep up with all this. There's too much going on, man.
We got a lot of we got a little debate about the Lazard stuff. There's a couple of people saying that he'll get 1,100. I saw 1,100. I saw 1,000. Really? I saw 7 TDs they were predicting. We'll
7? See. Well, that's not far off from the 6 that didn't we predict 6?
I don't think he'll have a touchdown regression, but I think he'll have. I don't think he's going to go off yardage wise. I mean, he was there last year without much competition for the number 2 role, and he still didn't do a lot with it.
Yeah,
but we'll see. I mean, if he can double his targets, that would put him at 1,000.
I do like the fact that, well, no, he wasn't. That's right. Lazard was drafted by the Jaguars, so we don't even get a rookie Packers card of him. That's right. He shared a depth chart with Allen Robinson, so he was buried on the depth chart in 2018. Goes to the Packers. I just don't see how he's able to get enough volume. I don't know. I still think Aaron Jones it's possible though. I could see it happening, but it's gonna be a long shot.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers just pulls a couple trick plays, throws a touchdown to himself, you know, throws it really high in the air, runs into the red zone.
Yeah, I mean, if they kind of redshirt Christian Watson, right? And don't give him very many opportunities in his rookie year. You've already seen Romeo Doubs like breaking out all over the place in training camp. I think he had like 3 touchdowns today in training camp. So that shouldn't be ignored. Like there's some pretty decent athletic athletes. I mean, I should have just said athletes on the depth chart with him that are gonna compete against him for targets.
And do you think there's enough gas in the tank for Randall Cobb to take a bite out of the target share?
It's possible. It's possible.
You know, he didn't do a whole lot last year, but then again, he didn't have to. That's Rodgers' best friend.
Yeah, I expect Sammy Watkins to get out there and I mean, I do expect Sammy Watkins to get out there at some point and get some activity. I mean, I don't think this injury it was nothing major. But it was just like not ideal. You know, he's already dealing with something. He didn't stretch good enough or something, probably some kind of hamstring. But man,
let's see exactly what it was, because now it's bugging me. What exactly was it? Watkins. Oh, it just says it's dealing with a very short-term thing. It doesn't even say what it is. They won't even specify in the report. Interesting. I mean, these veteran guys always find ways to miss time in camp to stay healthy. I'm with you, JP.
What does JP say? Aaron Jones getting more time. That's what I think too. I think that's what I'm in on Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. I'm in on AJ Dillon the most because he's an active hobbyist and he's younger and he's more powerful and explosive and he's got soft hands. He can catch the ball just as good as Jones just about. So I'm all in on AJ Dillon, but I'll definitely get some Aaron Jones as well. Got some Aaron Jones already. Oh yeah, Josh Palmer all day, brother. Josh Palmer all day. He's already gone back on, been noted back on record from Herbert that he's the guy who's coming in early, staying late. He's absolutely dominated the wide receiver 3 role. There's like not even a competition between him and Jalen Guyton anymore. Go look it up, guys. Josh Palmer is the man there. Anything happens to Mike Williams or Keenan Allen, it's the Josh Palmer show. There's a reason why they didn't draft a wide receiver this year. There's a reason why that the only time they spent a day 1 or day 2 pick on a wide receiver since 2017 was Josh Palmer. I'm all in.
Not only would he have a growing role if there was to be an injury. I mean, they pretty much already said he's going to be on the field for 3 wide receiver sets. So the thing with Laviska is, as of right now, they're projecting him as the 4th wide receiver, but then they're saying, oh, but they'll use him as a running back and this and that. And it's just like, maybe, but you know, how many times are we going to keep putting faith in this guy and him letting us down? I know he's still really young, but I think you like the Chargers offense a little bit better than the Jaguars.
Love the Chargers offense. High octane, the most aggressive coaching staff in the league. You've also got one of the best quarterbacks. I mean, it's just, you know, now granted he's had the most attempts and he's also thrown some picks, but he has set the record for most touchdowns in the first 2 seasons of his NFL career. So, and Josh Palmer, dude, do you see some of those catches he made last season over your guy, J.C. Jackson on the Patriots? So,
yeah, I think that he's got nice. He could have a nice career in the league. You know, that work ethic is a big thing. And, you know, another guy who maybe had some questionable work ethic was in the news today, Kyler Murray. So it just goes to show you can have all the tools, but you got to have the work ethic. You got to put in the time and the reps and the studying in the pros to be elite. So I like it. I do like the play, and I'm really not, unless the price is rock bottom, I'm not really touching any Laviska stuff.
Did you see that they updated Kyler Murray's contract? So Kyler Murray went on the record today and said it was like it was a joke. He was appalled that people thought that he could get to this level of success without studying film, and he was very upset about it. Clearly, very upset about it. Clearly, admitted that he was very upset, and so the Cardinals actually released a statement and they removed it from his contract. This was at 9:30. After seeing the distraction it created, we removed the addendum from the contract. It was clearly perceived in ways that were never intended. Our confidence in Murray is as high as it's ever been, and nothing demonstrates our belief in his ability to lead this team more than the commitment reflected in his contract. So
and here's the thing is, hey, you know what? Maybe they're doing it for optics, whatever the case is, but it's his own teammates that came out at the end of the year last year after the playoffs and railroaded him for at halftime having his headphones on and not participating in meetings and stuff like that. So this isn't like the organization dumping on him. Like his own teammates called him out for all these same things that are in the contract. So he's had outstanding numbers. Just imagine if he's fully tuned in, what could happen. So that's one of the reasons I like Kyler as an investment.
I just think that schedule's too difficult, man. I'd rather invest in Lamar at the same price point knowing that Lamar has got an absolute smash matchup against the Jets in week 1. That's my whole thing. And when I look at the Cardinals NFL schedule this year, I mean, they've got a much harder schedule. For week 1, the Chiefs. Week 2, the Raiders. Week 3, the Rams. You know, week 4, the Panthers. Then the Eagles.
You know, I'm not saying that I don't think that his prices will go up, but if you look at where most people are putting their chips for QBs, it's, you know, the guys that can both run and throw. Look at Mahomes and Kyler, hypothetically this year, if he has a prolific year. A lot of guys are a little bit scared about the rushing running backs, but I think that Lamar's cards have fallen enough that, you know, with them opening with a couple big games that, yeah, you'll see a big gain on his stuff. I'm not sure we'll ever see those MVP prices again, like when he had that prolific year. But there's definitely a lot of room to grow on his stuff for sure.
Oh, there you go, guys. It's a snipe opportunity right here.
That's a banger right there.
Add it to the add that to the watch list. Yeah.
JP's talking about you putting him on Josh Palmer. For those that aren't in the Discord or have been not watching this YouTube show for a while, Andy's been putting people on Josh Palmer for a long time. Long time.
He's a brand guy, man. That's a brand guy. If you've been on the quest for a while, you know it.
You know, we got a lot of us benefited from the T. Higgins call, and the Josh Palmer call is probably the next big one.
Yep. I appreciate that, Steve. Yes, sir, man. That's what we do here, man. It's all about, you know, matching up the athleticism and the team scenario, even if they don't currently have the opportunity or are projected for that opportunity. Look, the player pool in the NFL is massive. There's a 300 player pool that I'm looking at for our fantasy draft kit, and there's more players than that. You know, each team's got a 52-man roster, so you could do the math, multiply that by 32. I don't know, it's too late for that kind of math for me, but that's a lot of players. And of course, you subtract out the offensive linemen and the defensive line, you know, some of the defensive linemen, but you're still left with, you know, if you look at our draft kit, it's the top 300 NFL players. So there's a lot of guys that are very good athletes. They're very young. They're on good team scenarios. They're just not getting the full number one opportunity share because they're buried on the depth chart behind a proven veteran that's got that's got the production, that's got their, you know, the athleticism themselves. So it's just a matter of time before whether they get a new team scenario, they get an upgrade here, get an upgrade there, they get a chance on the field, boom. They're able to then take that opportunity with their athleticism and convert it into something great, something big, big highlights and stuff like that. Their team's winning, big market, all that. That leads to breakout in those rook yard values.
Messiah was asking about Palmer or Guyton. I mean, Palmer for sure. I mean, Guyton,
sure.
Guyton's got a little bit of, hype built into him a little bit right now, but, you know, the coaches have been all about Palmer, and there's not a whole lot of stuff coming out about Guyton. Plus, he's just too buried on the depth chart right now. You know, if there was an injury, he'd slide into the 3 role, and then maybe you'd see some movement on him. But it's not really imminent if he's going to become a part of that big part of that offense or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He's a wide receiver 4 guy at this point, but man, okay. Boom, there you go. There's the there's the Josh Palmer. There's the Josh Palmer news that I was looking for, the recent little blip that came out about him distancing himself as the clear 3rd wide receiver during camp. This is the part that I get excited about is the work ethic has been the fact that Herbert has been complimentary of Palmer. He's been much more confident. It's also the fact that he's regularly the last player on the practice field. He throws with Herbert after practice more than any other receiver on the roster. Does that situation sound familiar to you at all, Steve?
I mean, somebody's trying to be the next Cooper Kupp, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's a guy that clearly wants it. That's a guy that wants it. He wants it bad, man. He wants to be the guy. So, and we saw him beat elite corners in college at Tennessee. We also saw him make some seriously good contested catches last year in clutch situations, including a 4th down touchdown grab from Herbert in week 17 against the Raiders to extend that game into overtime. Come on, you know? Not only that, he went up for a sick grab over J.C. Jackson, the Patriots. It's just a matter of getting this guy more opportunity. When he's got opportunity, he's played well. So,
and you know, unlike Gabe Davis, there's still some meat on the bone for Palmer. You know, there's not, you know, this same rookie ticket auto last year of Gabe Davis would have been about this price, right? I think people quickly forget how cheap Gabe Davis cards were a year ago. So, yeah, keep that in mind. You know, Gabe Davis didn't have a 1,300-yard season. He had a really good finish to the year, and look where his cards are at already. So that could be that or more if Palmer can have a big breakout season. We know Mike Williams isn't exactly the most, you know, non-injury riddled type receiver. But even if he plays every game, you know, Palmer's got a spot on the field in 3 wide receiver sets.
Sean says the guy who doesn't have any cards also is kind of tough to invest in him. There you go. There you go. Make your decision even easier. Derek is still arguing with somebody in the chat about Trey Lance. I think Derek's about typical for this point.
Maybe Guyton will back up Trey Lance on the all NFL team, maybe.
Yeah, I don't trust Mike Williams or Keenan Allen to stay healthy all season long either. They both have pretty decent injury rap sheets and are aging. So there's another. The Jets put a loss on the Ravens. Get out of here, JP. That's a bold prediction. All right, Steve. Before I let you get out of here, I want to get a bold prediction from you. That took some balls, JP. That one takes some balls right there. With Sauce Gardner, he's and they got my man Jordan Whitehead, and I'm not happy about that. So it'll be interesting. But all right, Steve, before we get out of here tonight, 2 more things. There's a couple starred things. Appreciate all you guys. You guys are awesome. This has been a fun live stream. We need to cover more topics. And, you know, there's so much going on. It's a blast. Michael Thomas, like we said, fully healthy. Jameis is out there playing as well. No knee brace, looking good. He doesn't look as good as Chris Olave. I saw Chris Olave running some routes. That man's a fire waiting to happen. That Chris Olave, dude, he looks so good. So does Garrett Wilson too. But Chris Olave looks so fast. I was watching him run the same route, and then Michael Thomas run the same route earlier today. And it just, man, that guy is so quick.
You know, too soon to call Jameis Winston 4,500 passing yards.
The only thing that they've got holding them back is the head coach, Dennis Allen. I think that losing Sean Payton is going to be a bigger factor than people think. Dennis Allen is kind of a knucklehead, man. And he got fired. He got fired from where? The Raiders after going 0-4. And that was after like having 2 losing seasons in a row. And the guy is just, I think that they've got they need to make some serious improvements to coaching. And hopefully he's not calling the plays. Hopefully they've got some better play calling. That's the only thing that concerns me there, Steve, is the play calling. So
I agree. I guess we'll kind of see how they do it, you know, with maybe if there is a running back suspension, I think that'll definitely force them to pass a bit more. But I think that they're going to still pass at an above average clip at the very least.
Yeah. Dennis Allen was a knucklehead at the Raiders, and that's their head coach now. Well, let's see who their offensive coordinator. Pete Carmichael, offensive coordinator.
Andy, it looks like I'm not the only one that, you know, last week I said something about the Lions beating the Ravens the first week. There's other people jumping on now. If you see the chat,
the Jets beat the Ravens.
It's growing in popularity. It's
growing in popularity. Wow. Well, that's a steep uphill battle because the Ravens have smashed their week 1 opponent 5 years in a row before last year. They lost the Raiders in overtime last year, but before that, they destroyed their week 1 opponent 5 years in a row. This is the kind of preseason training camp hype right here cooking up for the Jets. Look at this, man. This is some serious hype cooking up for the Jets this preseason.
I want to see an absolute shootout. It's going to be a great game, I think.
I would love to see Zach Wilson be able to keep up with a shootout. I just don't know he's going to be able to. But, man, if he can take a step forward, they got a running game. They added even better, even more like super dynamic passing weapons. So it's going to be really hard to cover all those guys. And if Zach Wilson can, get his head out of the clouds, and maybe he can take the next step, man. Maybe take the next step.
Andy, it seemed like you were dialing up a question for me there before we got sidetracked. What did you?
Oh yeah, I want to get your bold prediction. This was a question from Voodoo Rage, Bills Mafia out there. He said, "What's your Super Bowl prediction?"
Oh, I think we covered this one maybe last week, but I still think that Tampa Cincy, man, I'd love to see it.
I love that.
I think the current and future GOAT head-to-head would make the ultimate story.
It's hard for me to not see Brady getting back to the Super Bowl. He's going to be in the playoffs for sure. Obviously, the NFC South looks like more or less like a pretty easy division for Brady to win. And, man, so he's going to be back in the playoffs. The question is Rams, Cardinals, like who's the Packers, who's going to be the challenging force there, the Eagles, the Cowboys. It's not nearly as stacked as the AFC. So there's definitely a very pretty clear path for Brady to get to a final Super Bowl. And I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. I could see it. Well, maybe I'm biased.
I think if it wasn't for the offensive line injuries, Tampa would have probably beat them last year.
Yeah, man. If Tristan Wirfs didn't sprain his ankle in that game, that's true. That would have been different.
Everything went downhill after he got knocked out of the game.
It was a combination of things. I mean, unnecessary roughness on Brady for screaming at the ref after getting a busted lip. The unnecessary roughness on Levante David for throwing his helmet on the sideline. There's some goofy stuff there earlier, and then it just culminated at the end with the blitz, the all-out blitz on Stafford and left Cup wide open down the field. There's a variety of things that were weird in that game. But, I mean, obviously, it's biased, but I would say the Bucs are back in there now. Who are they going to play? Could be the Bengals. Could be the Bills. I've been calling the Bills back there for a couple years, but it hasn't happened. I don't think the Chiefs get all the way back there this year. The other team it could be, Steve, is the Raiders, because if you think about it, the Super Bowl's in Las Vegas this year. So I'm just saying,
it's only happened 2 years in a row, Andy.
Oh, only 2 years in a row.
And there was only what, 6 games in a row that ended with a field goal in regulation last year consecutively in the playoffs, which is like absolutely a statistical anomaly, right? So, I mean, seems to be heavy on statistical anomalies. Maybe it will be Vegas.
Yeah, heavy on. I like the way you put it, Steve. Heavy on statistical anomalies. That's
the politically correct version.
The politically correct version. All right.
Someone said Chargers Vikings. That would be interesting.
Hey, there you go.
I'm maybe being biased because I want to see Burrow play Brady, but I mean, let's be honest. The Bengals improved from last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're gonna be nasty.
I can't wait to see what they can do.
They're gonna be nasty, and now Burrow's got no appendix. He's got healthy legs, healthy arms, lighter. That appendix is all swollen up inside of him, man. So he's good to go, man.
He'll be a half mile an hour faster when he's running.
Yeah, half mile an hour faster, dude. Like, just He's going to be fresh out there. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Watch out. Watch out. That's the show.
I love it. I love it.
All right, y'all. We will see you back here very soon. We'll share more of our last five. I've got a mail day coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. That'll be fun. You'll get to see what my recent purchases were, and yeah, and we'll be covering all this training camp activity, preseason. We'll be back. We're gonna be mixing up. I didn't even talk to Steve about this yet, but our in-season schedule. We'll see if how many episodes or how many times per week Steve will be able to join me. But we're gonna be live a lot and covering a lot of quick, actionable, quick hitting analysis before games, after games. It's gonna be fun, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And if you guys have any questions or you want any like bold predictions, that's something we haven't covered yet, make sure you guys submit that so we can get it covered next week or as soon as possible for you. Andy, it was a pleasure. Looking forward to next week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Francesco, none of us are good at predicting injuries, brother. None of us are good at predicting injuries. Just going to leave that out there for you. Can't forecast for injuries. It just happens sometimes.
Can happen to anyone, any game.
That's right. That's right. Peace.
Good night, guys.